The supposition that ghosts are wisps of smoke bears little anecdotal basis. Most percipients described sightings similar to the exceptionally well-documented Morton ghost, in that ghosts can be mistaken as living persons. Between 1882 and 1884, Rosina Despard recorded sightings of the deceased Mrs. Imogen Swinhoe in their home. The ghost always appeared in black, holding a handkerchief over her face. Rosina described the image was so solid and lifelike, it was often mistaken for a real person. The image often descended the stairs and exited the house into the garden. Rosina recorded that, when she tried to touch the image, it was not that there was nothing there to touch, but that she always seemed to be beyond me, and if followed into a corner, simply disappeared. The case received the stamp of authenticity by psychical researcher Frederick William Henry Myers. Apparitions of the living is the experience of seeing the image of a still living person, and gives credibility to the belief in out-of-body experiences. An experimental apparition is an image of a person intentionally sent to the percipient. A reciprocal apparition is an apparition of a living person that interacts with a percipient. One famous example involved a member of British Parliament. In 1905, Sir Frederick Carnot Roche appeared in front of other members of the Parliament. He disappeared halfway through and was later discovered to have been ill with the flu and at home the whole day. An out-of-body experience is the dissociative experience of observing yourself from an external perspective, as though your mind or soul had left and was observing your body. The experience is also called astral projection. Canadian neurosurgeon Wilder Penfield was able to reproduce some out-of-body sensations in an epileptic patient by introducing an electrical charge to the superior temporal gyrus in the right temporal lobe. Dr. Olaf Blanc of the University Hospital of Geneva, Switzerland, was able to reproduce similar feelings of floating in a patient being treated for complex partial epilepsy. When electrical current was introduced to the angular gyrus, an area of the brain associated with, among other things, cognition, this is called autoscopy, or seeing oneself. A perimortem apparition is also called a crisis apparition. This is the image of a person that appears to a percipient during times of crisis. A delayed crisis apparition appears hours after the crisis has passed. Apparitions of the dead are experiences in seeing persons that have passed away. A post-mortem apparition is the image of a person that appears to a percipient within 12 hours of death. A delayed post-mortem apparition appears after 12 hours of death. Deathbed apparitions are images that appear to those who are dying. A survey of 877 medical professionals in the United States and India documented 418 deathbed apparitions. Most patients were not medicated or running a fever at the time of the sighting. 90% reported visits from deceased loved ones. Deathbed apparitions are often referred to as takeaway apparitions because they seem to fulfill the role of taking a recently deceased person into the afterlife. In the survey, 65% of patients felt the ghost was leading them into the afterlife. Dr. Ian Stevenson conducted a survey and discovered no fewer than 78% of apparitions of the dead were perceived by a witness to whom the deceased person had strong emotional ties, such as a husband, wife, or fiancé, and among apparitions of the living, the percentage of such appearances rose even higher to 92%. Bystander-type apparitions seem to appear around persons they knew well in life. 29% of apparitions are images of persons unknown to the percipient. A haunting apparition is an image that occurs repeatedly over a period of years, decades, and even centuries in a specific location. A residual haunting is an image that appears performing the same actions and seems ignorant to the percipient. Some parapsychologists maintain these images are not evidence of discarnate consciousnesses. Instead, they propose they are memories somehow recorded in surroundings that are somehow accessed by certain people during altered states of consciousness. An intelligent haunting is an image that seems to wish to interact with the still living. A soulless apparition is the image of an inanimate object. One of the most surprising so-called soulless apparitions was a red double-decker bus. In the 1930s in North Kensington, London, hundreds of percipients reported almost being struck by a double-decker bus at the dangerous intersection of St. Mark's Road and Cambridge Gardens. Reports stopped after the road was remodeled. Zoological apparitions, also known as animal ghosts, are usually short-lived and in folklore often appear as premonitory apparitions. Antemortem apparitions, also called a premonitory apparition, is an image that seems to indicate disaster or death. Also called cemetery lights, corpse candles are glowing balls of light that appear in folklore to hover above graves and family cemeteries as an omen of impending death in the family. In cultures with Germanic influences, the image of a large black dog with glowing red eyes is believed to be an omen of death. Despite the contemporary suppositions of a banshee, this premonitory apparition does not scream or howl. Originally Irish funeral singers, the banshee warns of impending death by singing a mournful lament or hymn.